Well, Assistant Director for Admissions and Recruitment here at the Brown School. We thank you for tuning in, for those of you who are here with us live. And for those of you who are going to be able to watch this after the broadcast on YouTube, please feel free to send in any emails or questions to our office when you get a chance. So today's topic we have is why I chose the Brown School. And so we know that this is a very difficult time for a lot of people who've been admitted to the program to kind of figure out which programs that they want across the country. We know that some of you have multiple options. And so we brought some current students to discuss with you what those options are like and what that process is like. There are a lot of different things we believe we have to offer, including our curriculum, fieldwork opportunities, and faculty that make our program such a strong program. But honestly, I believe this group here represents really what the special part of our program. And so we're excited for them to share with you their experience and how they came to choose the Brown School to do their part in helping us be such a successful program. Before we go into that a little further, I want to make sure that we give our volunteers here an opportunity to introduce themselves. So we'll start to my left. If you can share with us your name, your background, academic interests, and your year in the program.
Sure. So hi, I'm Bridget Welch. I'm a first year MSW student. My background is in higher ed, so I worked at colleges and universities for a while and decided to come back to school because I want to work in clinical counseling at the university. So I kind of want to do a blend of social work and counseling direct practice in the university setting.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm James Peterson. I'm a second year MSW student. I'm concentrating in mental health. My background is the Marine Corps. I spent 5 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I'd like to use my master's in social work to work with veterans dealing with PTSD and reintegration issues.
My name's Allie. I'm a first year MSW student. My background is in education. I taught in Brooklyn, and now I'm here pursuing school social work.
I'm Stephen Hayworth, a second year MPH student specializing in epi biostats. My background is a little bit all over, but I have been in or around healthcare settings for most of my adult life. And so what I'm doing right now is hoping to bring together public health and healthcare administration kind of under one roof and focus a lot on care coordination and emergency departments. But try to hit a lot of different areas and try to hopefully bring a little bit more of a prevention mindset to hospital settings.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. It's actually really exciting to hear your varied backgrounds and experience, and I think this does capture what the Brown School community is all about. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your stories. And so I'm going to start off with this first question. And as we go through the questions, feel free to jump in wherever you see it fits. First question is, when you were applying to graduate schools, what were you looking for in the program?
So I'll go first. Yeah, so I was looking at a number of programs, all over the U.S. But what I was looking for most were faculty members that were really engaged. That's probably what I found the most impactful at the Brown School. Is that across the board, our faculty members are doing, research projects on any number of topics, but they are really engaged with their students, and so they want their students to succeed in whatever facet that is. And for me, I've kind of taken a little bit of a winding road to public health, and even since I've been here, I've kind of changed my career trajectory a little bit. But the entire way, I've had a panel of mentors from across the board in terms of interests, and they've been with me every step of the way. And they've been no matter which way I'm going, they are supporting that, and they will provide advice. But if I'm set and I definitely need to do this, they do whatever they can to hopefully reach my potential in that specific area. So that's one thing I was looking for.
Right. It really echoes what part of our conversation last time with the board of directors. It sounds like you have your board of directors who kind of helps you.
Definitely.
It goes with you to make adjustments.
Yeah.
Other folks in the room, what were you looking for when it comes to graduate programs?
I like WashU's reputation as the #1. I know we go back and forth with Michigan, but the #1 in my social work school in the world. I'm from St. Louis, so going to WashU was always a dream of mine. So when I was able to not only attend WashU in general, but attend the Brown School, the #1 social work school, it was a no-brainer for me.
I actually did not know that WashU was one of the top ranked schools. I lived in the St. Louis area and looked at some schools in the region, and I applied to several of them. I think something that really sealed it for me was what was espoused about diversity education, social justice work, and seeing that be a reality, seeing that really embraced, seeing individuals from the Brown School asking hard questions, having hard conversations as a reputable school in the region, and really not being afraid of that. So that celebration and focus on advocacy, focus on social justice that I felt was being actualized really made me know that this was the right place for me.
Thank you.
Something that I liked about the Brown School was the flexibility. I mean, I came into here kind of knowing what I wanted to do and trying to like develop socio-emotional programs for kids in schools. And I liked that the Brown School had a curriculum for children, youth, and families and for school social work, and also allowed that flexibility for me to develop my interests, which I felt like is something really unique about the Brown School, and it's one of the reasons why I came.
Great. I think that folks who are listening, probably what you all shared is something that they found that resonates with all of you. And I can imagine these are some of the stories that I hear from other students and from other prospective students as to what they're looking at. We're going to move on to the second question. What was something that you didn't know to look for when you were looking into schools, and you were glad that you found that it was at the Brown School? Maybe one of those things that you discovered that you realized was maybe a question you didn't even realize to look for and to ask for that you found here.
I think for me, something that kind of came out of that last question was like the number of opportunities, and that's something that was a reason why I chose the Brown School, but I didn't realize exactly how many opportunities were here in terms of WashU having connections, with different organizations throughout the region, and relationships between here and BJC Healthcare, which is Missouri's really large healthcare system, second leading employer to Walmart. But at any rate, for me, I didn't think about, I was thinking maybe in a very siloed sense of doing research and what this institution could offer me. But once I got here at the Brown School, realized that there's so many really wonderful opportunities to look outside of just our university and to get involved with the community, to get involved with organizations. And through that, I've had professors in some of our courses where we've actually worked to develop some kind of product for a community health organization here in the region and actually have an impact on that work. And for me, that's been probably the most exciting and beneficial that I didn't realize was really important to me.
Great. What are those surprises?
I'm going to echo Stephen's sentiments that the relationships and the networking that you get from going to WashU, I don't know how to say they're more important than education, but I would say just as equally important as the education you're getting. Relationships that I've formed, people whom I would have never ever thought, politicians and businessmen from around the area. It's kind of a dream come true.
I think also to echo that, something that surprised me was the community that we have within the Brown School, even just with students. There's a lot of people that we go to school with that are really accomplished and have done really awesome things, and it's been really amazing to get to know them, and knowing that they'll be colleagues in future years is a really great notion.
Something I didn't necessarily know was just a lot about the social work profession, and I did not really understand that some social work specific programs would be more like practical based or more theoretical. Some people talk about that in terms of like micro, so like the individual interaction, or macro, like more policy level. And I feel like I get some of both here. And I don't know how that like really compares to other schools, but I will say like, I feel like I have opportunities to discuss with people about current issues, ongoing things, how that's connected to different systematical, historical impacts, as well as like really tangible skills. Like I take skill lab classes that are like, this is a skill, you will learn it, you'll have that by the time you're finished with this class. You will like interact with individual clients, you will interact with individual agencies. So I feel like I get both, which I didn't really know about before I was here.
That's great. I think kind of also just to jump on to something else that you said about not knowing about the programs. I think that's one of the difficulties about this process. Once you accept it, you really don't know until you go to school. It's kind of like taking a new job or anything else. You don't really know how exactly how it's going to be until you get to that environment. For us, it's really difficult for us to give a strong comparative. There may be some details programmatically about things like how you choose practicum versus being placed in practicum, and some other details like that that maybe we can share because we hear or we're aware of it. But for the most part, I mean, once you're here, you get a chance to actually get immersed in the experience here. And it's actually really good to hear that you all had some real positive surprises, or at least some things that you weren't aware of or that you would need to know. So we're going to move on to our next question. So you heard all these new things when you got here. You learned some new things, but why did you choose this place? Ultimately, why did you choose the hospital? What made you realize that this was the right place for you?
So for me, a couple things. So I'm from St. Louis, so Washington was always the premier place to go to school. So it was always up here, and I just felt lucky. But also, I had applied to a couple of other schools, and every time I sent an email, everyone in administration would respond like that. Other schools, it would take days to get back. That was my experience. Maybe I was alone in that, but they were responsive. They were welcoming. I set up a private meeting with one of the people in admissions just to pick their brain about different things about going to school here, and it was incredible. I mean, I got to sit one-on-one and ask anything as I made my decision which school to go to. But yeah, for me, that was the deciding factor, is just how responsive and welcoming they were for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. For me, I applied to a number of schools all over, and a very similar experience. If I would send emails to faculty or staff, and at other universities, it would take a lot longer to get a reply. And even when I would get that reply, it was typically very, very short. Right. And so here, it was completely different. I kind of remember the night that I had officially decided at Admitted Students Weekend to come here, but I came in for an info session. I was in St. Louis for a couple of years before starting at the Brown School. And it was kind of a snowy night, and one of the admissions directors or admissions staff was hosting an info session, and I was the only person there. And it was pretty late at night. It must have been like 6:30, 7, and she and I ended up talking for about an hour and a half about the school, about the program, about my history, where I see myself going, and that level of, I think, attention and detail, and in writing a thank you letter back to her. She seemed equally as grateful for the opportunity to speak with me, which I thought was really interesting take. As I'm like, I really want to go to this university, please accept me. So I thought that was something really, really great, and a really great perspective that our staff have, but as well as our faculty members. So.
Yeah, so I'm interested in counseling, I said, at university college type of setting, but I'm also really interested in sexual health education, and this is one of the few social work programs that has the amount of sexuality, social work type of classes. So it's kind of this combination of like women, gender studies, sexuality, sexual health, all kind of like together. It is unique. The faculty are excellent. Got to meet some of them before I started, and that was a big piece of why I chose, as well as scholarship. I don't know how to say that, right? I got a big scholarship. I was excited about that. That helped make that decision.
Another thing that really brought me to Brown School was my tour. So if you guys haven't had a chance to come visit campus, I really encourage it. So I got to go on a tour with a student, and it was something that really, opened my eyes to like what the student experience is like here. And so I think that was definitely a big pull when you get to go around and see all the different classes and meet some of the different students. It's really exciting to be a part of this community.
Absolutely.
And to circle back, just one other thing is kind of to go along with what I was saying earlier, is that our previous dean kind of had this phrase like, the Brown School is very unique in that we have people that are both experts in their field and nice, because normally you have to choose one or the other. You can get an expert that's a real jerk, or you can get someone that's nice that maybe isn't as great in their field. But here we have the unique benefit of having faculty members and staff that have been across the nation, have done research, have done a lot of really great work, but they haven't necessarily forgotten what it's like to be a student, and they still like fostering and mentoring those relationships. So I really like that too.
Absolutely. So we're going to move on to the next question. Thank you for that last one. Next question is, what has been the, well, it might be a little, are there any other big surprises that you all want to share?
Big surprises.
Any other big surprises?
So, as I said, I came from the Marine Corps, and I spent several years overseas. So I was a little bit apprehensive to to say that I was a Marine veteran when I was in my classes, because like, WashU is social work school. It's going to be liberal. They're going to be like Berkeley, where they hate veterans. And I mean, not only have they been receptive to me being a veteran, but they've been proactive and reaching out to me and seeing if there's anything you guys need on campus. How can we help the veterans experience here? It's been mind blowing. I mean, I love this experience. And I'll say there are two things in my life that I mean this, that I'm most proud of: becoming a Marine and graduating from the Brown School. This experience has been just life altering for me.
It's hard to follow.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. I didn't want to follow your cue. All right. So, what advice or wisdom would you pass on to students who are still navigating the admissions decision and are still wondering if they should even apply here? What advice would you give to them?
So I would say give us a call. Call any one of our faculty members or our staff. There's someone here that wants to talk with you. I had a number of conversations with the FE Biostats Department Chair, Kim Johnson, as well as Janine Harris. I think I had 3 conversations before I actually applied, and then a number of conversations afterwards. But that for me was really, really fantastic to be able to sit down and, just talk through your questions. You can get a lot through email, but there's something that you really gain, I think, from an actual conversation. So that would be one thing that I would say. You call not just our school, but talk to the other places you're applying and have those real world interactions.
I think it's good to think of it as like, you're talking about being nervous about applying and being an applicant and kind of like wanting to impress, but also like you're interviewing us, you're seeing if it's the best fit for you, so yeah, like truly making those calls, asking the questions that you're like kind of nervous to ask, like find a student, their student ambassadors through admissions, like make sure that you know it's the best fit for you. If you are anywhere near the St. Louis region, come here, like come for a visit, see us in person, talk to people face to face. I'm that person that like, I want to sit across the table from the financial aid person and be like, how really do I afford this? Do people have jobs? What happens? I think that feels more significant sometimes to have that like face to face.
I think one of my biggest apprehensions in coming to St. Louis was that I didn't even know one person here, and I was really nervous because I didn't know one person here. So my biggest piece of advice is to come and try if you are thinking about coming here but are scared about relocating. The community here is really strong, and I feel like there's so many people here to support you and that you can be friends with. That it's totally worth it.
Just keep in mind that, like we said earlier, that the relationships that you're going to get, these other the intangibles you'll get, the connections, they're so strong here. Someone once told me, I narrowed it down to SLU finally and WashU, and a fellow veteran who was going to WashU told me at the time, the one thing you're going to get from WashU, not that you're not going to get this from SLU, but the one thing that he has gotten from WashU was the networking, and it's very strong after you graduate. And I didn't really understand what he meant at the time, but I absolutely do now.
That's great. Thank you all. And so I think we have any kind of, I'm sure we have a couple of questions coming in, but while those questions come in, and again, if you're watching live, feel free to go ahead and send in some questions to us. Any closing thoughts from you all? Any kind of last ideas around your experiences to you're choosing an institution, WashU? You shared a lot, so take a minute and kind of reflect. And if there's anything you think that maybe you wanted to say and capture that you'd hate to walk away from this experience when the lights go on, what could that be? While y'all are thinking about that, I'm going to put on a couple of things. One of them is financial aid, as mentioned before, and so the university has been fortunate enough to provide some scholarship money, and it ranges anywhere from $5,000 to 40 or even full ride. But they're limited funds, and so we encourage everybody to make sure your FAFSAs are complete, make sure that those are turned in, and then if you have any questions, you can talk to someone from our office. We even have our own dedicated financial aid director, our assistant director, so you can work with him to learn more about him, our financial aid, and the staff. There are other opportunities as well during Admitted Student Weekend and other areas where you'll get a chance to learn about jobs and other opportunities on campus. I think that's something that often comes up when it comes to financing your education. And I think, again, as folks had mentioned before, you talked to a friend who was a current student, some of you talked to took tours or talked to faculty at different points and staff. Really take advantage of that. If you can't physically be here, there's a feeling you have when you're here. When you get it's one of those things where we just tell you, you should just come and check us out. But we know that that's not possible for everybody across the country, let alone across the world. So if you're interested in connecting with us, we have a whole host of student volunteers who are not paid. These are student volunteers who've signed up and they're willing to talk to you, to email with you, to share their experiences and stories about the WashU experience. They're called our peer outreach volunteers. And so I want to give a little plug there for that. These conversations don't need to stop here. There's a whole list of videos you'll see on YouTube for those of you who are going to watch the replay. But if there's anything that's outstanding and you want to know, definitely feel free to reach out to us and we'll get you connected with those students. Maybe you want to talk to a student who's a veteran, or maybe you want to talk to a student who lived and had a career somewhere else and somewhere else and decided to relocate to the Midwest and how they made those transitions. So with that being said, any final thoughts, any kind of burning ideas that you don't want to throw out there?
I think one thing that to me stands out is that we are, in general, a newer school for the public health side of things. And I think that's going to have some huge impacts moving forward in terms of how we approach public health. We, because we're a newer program, we are very flexible in how we approach maybe the same issue, and that we can be very innovative. And I think innovation is going to be what's really critical moving forward. So, for example, we have the capabilities. We have 14 research centers here. We have quite a few research centers. But we have other collaborations with schools across the university. So Sam Fox, the School of Design, which is right behind me, you can't see it, but it's right behind me. We have a lot of really great collaborative opportunities with them to basically, develop apps that will maybe track health patterns in a particular population, or to understand the built environment and how that will play a role in how you go about, accessing green space or exercising, or just getting to and from work. So I think because we're new, because we're flexible, because we're still growing and learning and developing, that there's a place here for you. Doesn't matter what your interests are. You can go the traditional EPI route, kind of similar to what I did, but I have a friend who is also here who is working on coding and machine learning. But we all think that this fits under the umbrella of public health. So if you have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to anybody here, because I truly think that there's a spot here for everybody.
Yeah, and Steven's cell phone number is 314. If you'd like to get hold of Steven and some of the peers and colleagues that he's referred to, definitely reach out to our office. For sure, you can reach out to us at Brown Admissions at wustl.edu, and we can get you connected with any of these individuals as well as others. So I appreciate that. Thank you. We never give you one.
I was thinking about just like St. Louis in general, like, yes, you're going to be a student, but maybe do a little like St. Louis homework if you have never been from here, to see like what type of agencies you might work with, where you might want to live, what's happening in St. Louis, what's in St. Louis history. Like, I think if I was like not at all from this city or region, I would maybe want to learn about that.
Yeah, I mean, in that vein, St. Louis is a great place to be a student, in my opinion. Loads of free stuff to do. We're about maybe a 10-minute walk from Forest Park, which is the largest urbanized park, bigger than Central Park. But it's really great because there's a zoo in there, history museum, art museum, a number of events, and all of those are free. And so for me, like, if you kind of get bogged down in studying and you're like, I just really have to see a polar bear today, you can walk over there and do it and just see that polar bear and come back and have spent no money. And so that for me is like a really great resource. The zoo in particular, I love the zoo.
Yeah, there's lots of free stuff, summer festivals, like music things. It's pretty affordable town.
Yeah, and I would say, WashU is pretty centrally located to where like most of those major events are. There's Tower Grove, which is another park a little bit farther away. But a lot of events do happen around Forest Park, and we're, again, like a 10-minute walk.
I'm not a student, but I will say that one of my favorite places to go in St. Louis is close to campus. It's the Loop. And I know a lot of our students have access to it. For those of you who are coming to the student weekend, you'll get a chance to visit the Loop and check out some offerings there. It's one of the most eclectic neighborhoods within the community. And you can do everything from have great food, shop, check out live music. There's concert venues. There's a lot of really cool things that are happening there. The other piece would be Forest Park for sure. They've got something called Twilight Tuesdays. We have a number of concert series. The Botanical Gardens has a concert series. So the number, you're going to be a grad student, so the reality is there are going to be times where you're going to be so booked up that you're not going to have time to take advantage. And you'll be with some good company doing that. But when you do get a break, there are things that are cheap or free to do here. I mean, art openings, to me, is one of the best ways to take advantage of the evening. It's usually free wine or beer, which is always a plus when you're a grad student. If you don't partake, you can definitely have a non-alcoholic beverage for sure. But there are opportunities to kind of get to know the local artists and San So, and there are a lot of things that you can do at a Midwestern scale, and it's really accessible in a city like St. Louis.
And another great thing about St. Louis is the cost of living is a lot lower here than it was in New York, where I was last. So even things that aren't free are a lot more affordable than other places in the country.
Yeah. Very true. I've lived all over, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Very expensive by comparison to St. Louis.
Love all those places. You can hang out with us for a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we actually have a few questions coming in, and so I think we're going to get a laptop here. So if our wonderful leader, fearless leader, Brianna, is going to help us out with this. So, all right, so we'll start with the first question here. It says, are any of you working in research fellowships, and what has your experience been like in that regard, participating in research, even if it's not a research fellowship, participating in research as a student?
So I do have a research fellowship. It just came from there, actually. The Washington University Center for Diabetes Translation Research, which we affectionately call the WCDTR. We love acronyms here. It's a lot shorter. But basically, I do type 2 diabetes prevention research. A lot of translation. What translation means is kind of seeing what other organizations are doing, or what other research institutions are doing, and seeing how well it will apply to a different population. And kind of a lot of dissemination and implementation goes into that. A lot of, about D&I sciences, basically trying to figure out how do you have a piece of research have an impact as soon as possible, because the current track is on average, it takes 7 years. So how do we speed that up and have an actual impact on communities? And so my experience with this fellowship has been literally everywhere, which is really exciting. So it started off with our center applying for multi-year, multi-million-dollar refunding. And so that actually took most of the first year exclusively, where we were just working on a lot of grant proposals, grant renewal stuff. But then as I've transitioned into the second year, I've had an opportunity to work on a lot of different research projects with our healthcare systems here. Working on cascades of care and understanding, at what point does a diabetes patient fall off of maybe a continuum of care, and how do you use that, or what kind of interventions can you implement at that point of care to hopefully have them adhere to a particular program to hopefully have better health outcomes. But also I've had opportunities to do independent research projects. So I'm going to do a poster presentation at the end of the month on pediatric diabetes. Still working with the data set to figure out what's there and kind of what I want to drill down on. But that for me is really exciting to have that mentorship with Dr. Deborah here, Joshu. And so for me, my research experience has been really, really fantastic.
That's great. There's some other informal research opportunities. James, I know we've been talking a lot about veteran support, especially at the university. Can you just talk about kind of some exploration research that you all have been doing around kind of pushing together some ideas for that?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of research and exploration of how social connection for veterans after their service can aid and be therapeutic with their transition and their reintegration. It's kind of an emerging topic in veterans, but the data is there and it's ongoing. So we've been talking about it a lot, but it's kind of been a big push this year, especially at WashU. To develop those social connections, to research it, and see how veterans can better integrate into society after their service.
Thank you. Great. And move on to question number 2 we have here, which is, how important do you think it is to attend an MSW program close to where you want to work or live? And alternatively, how does the Brown School support students in building their professional network once they leave St. Louis? So, you all are, coming from, I know that you're originally from St. Louis, but you live everywhere, and all of you have lived in multiple places in your life, and so can you speak to your thoughts on that when it comes to being prepared for eventually exiting the institution?
Yeah. So how important is it? I'll talk about the first part. How important is it to go to an institution where you want to work afterwards? So I think that is really great. I think you have a very unique thing here at WashU in that we have a lot of really amazing local connections that I know a lot of people take advantage of, but at the same time, we're also very much nationally recognized. And so we have huge influences outside of, the St. Louis region, but also outside of the Midwest. And I can speak from experience. So, as a part of my practicum, which kind of extended into my year, I ended up applying for these things called healthcare administrative fellowships. And in doing so, I was able to go around the country from North Carolina out to Utah, and that's actually where I'm going to end up, is Salt Lake City, Utah. And everybody knew already about WashU there. Like, they were very familiar. They were very familiar with BJC Healthcare. They were very familiar with the university. They were very familiar with the MPH program. And so in that sense, I think that we have kind of a very unique benefit that, you could certainly stay here and have a huge impact, but if you, for whatever reason, maybe life is calling you elsewhere, you can still absolutely do that as well.
I think it's also okay to not know. I think a lot of people come here and they think that they're going to leave St. Louis and they end up staying here for the rest of their lives, or the opposite. But it's really just, there's a lot of different connections you can make in St. Louis, and maybe that will lead you to a job and like a life in St. Louis. But like Steven said, it is nationally recognized. So if your life brings you somewhere else, the Brown School will help you too.
But I'll even address the veteran part. The Washington University Student Veterans Movements, this year we won the Chapter of the Year for the National Student Veterans of America. So out of about 1,500 chapters, we were recognized as the #1 chapter. So even in that regard, it's it's nationally recognized.
Absolutely. National recognition.
I'm not sure where I'm going to wind up city-wise after here, but I would consider St. Louis as one of the places that I would want to land for my next career move. So I think, yes, I agree with like everything that people have said about like it could prepare you because there is that national reputation and connection to different like associations or professional networks. I think that it can benefit you a lot to be learning and like doing practicum in the city because you think you were gonna stay in, or like even like region, because like you start to hear about like individuals who work in agencies or like community groups, and you do get like very familiar with like the lingo and the history, and like that can help you. Like, I don't want to ignore that because I think that experience can be really important. So if you think that you want to stay in this area, I can see that being useful. But I also feel like I have like a mindset too of like, okay, if I move, I have been all over. If I move to San Francisco Bay, maybe I don't know of any agencies there right now, but I can use some of the things that I've learned to identify those agencies or networks of people who lived in California to help me get connected.
Yeah, and I would even say leverage our faculty. I know that when I was kind of, on the very preliminary start of the job hunt, I would just talk to some faculty members, and they've got connections everywhere. They are also nationally recognized, and so they would put me in contact with people in Nashville, Colorado, New York City, and so I think again, our faculty members would be also a really great resource to reach out to and say, okay, well, where have you been? Like, who do you know? Because I think you'd be very surprised to see their social network. It's probably enormous. So it can even extend to international work as well, if that's what you're interested in too.
It's actually pretty fun being part of an organization that's recognized internationally. I mean, which institution has hosted more presidential debates than anywhere else? WashU. I mean, that was a blast this week. The media, swarmed on campus, and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were here. I mean, it was awesome.
Absolutely, you do get a lot of national attention for a lot of different reasons. I want to throw a couple of plugs in there. We talk about them often. I think we've actually even had it here for a virtual session that you can see on the list, but our career services. We have a dedicated career services just for the Brown School, for both public health and social work, and that's all they focus on no other disciplines or majors, but just our program, which is pretty exciting. And they get real-time job opportunities. So if you visit us, you want to sit down with them, or if you come to Mid-Student Weekend, they can tell you right now what's posted in a particular area that potentially may have interest to you across the nation. So they're constantly getting updates, and they're constantly building out their network. And so they're really mastered at being able to teach others around how to network and make those connections. The other piece is just kind of more anecdotal, but For us, we do a lot of travel for recruitment around the country because we do feel like we want to get a lot of exposure out there about our programs too. Because we do have something I think that's really great to offer to a lot of people so they can go out and live their dreams through their careers. And one of the things that's true though is that there are times of the year or locations that we can't always get to. So if you haven't been to your city, we definitely apologize. But what I will say is that, okay, Allie will go next time. We'll look together, Allie. What I will say is that we've got alumni in a wide variety of areas who stepped up to sit in for us. So, last summer we had the NIH fair. We had some alumni from DC covering it, which is an incredible way of them giving back. So there's this desire to give back, and giving back of your time as alumni is you can't quantify it if you want to. You want to kind of figure out what your hourly wage is, but the cost of savings for us as an institution, and also the idea that we get a chance to have more exposure to more people in a particular area is good. And we're going to be there in April, the same weekend as Administrative Region. So for those of you who are up in the Northern California area who can't be here, or are interested in talking to alumni, we're actually going to have a alumni there April 8th for one of the graduate fairs as well. So our alumni around the country are actually stepping up and supporting and helping us out. And then if you do come to campus during the student meeting, you're going to have a chance to interact with current alumni. So I would say that whether it's local or whether it's kind of national or international, we have alumni in a variety of sectors that we do stay in contact with. And so that network is something that's very positive. And we have the Brownsville fortunately has a pretty good reach directly out there. So we have one more question here on the docket before we wrap up here. And so I'm going to throw it out here. We talked a little bit about this for sure, about living in St. Louis. But let's see here. Any thoughts on for students drawn to Brownsville, or any concerns about having less practical experience here in St. Louis versus maybe another larger city? Do you see there being any limitations to actual practical experience and hands-on experience, whether it's in the traditional practical side or research center? What are your thoughts on that? How would you compare that to other larger or major cities?
In St. Louis, we've got research hospitals. We have 2 enormous VA facilities. We've got nonprofits everywhere downtown. I mean, I don't think that we're in need of. I mean, we're not lacking in the practicum sites at all, are we? I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
They're everywhere. I had so many to choose from. I had to narrow it down.
Yeah.
I think also 2 things about the Brown School is, one, if you have an organization that you want to do a practicum with and they're not affiliated with the Brown School, you can go through that process. So if you feel like there's not something on a list that you would like to pursue, you can go ahead and get that affiliated. And then also something great about the Brown School is you can choose your practicum instead of being assigned to one. So you can really look at all the opportunities that are in St. Louis, which I feel like is a very big social justice center right now. And they'll definitely work with you to find that practicum that you really need.
We also have, so we have, I think, 300 or more, give or take, practicum sites. And if you're interested in doing practicum in another city, you can also do that over summer as an option. Not a lot of students take summer classes, so that can be a time where you knock out some hours like in DC or somewhere else random, that you decide to pick. For people who do global health, it's an option also to do an international practicum. So I've never felt limited in my options, and I feel like there is, like Allie said, a lot of flexibility to be involved in the decision making.
And I mean, I would say, give St. Louis a chance. That's probably the biggest thing, because for me, when I walked in, I was very much on the track of, I'm going to have a practicum at the CDC, at the NIH, with HRSA, kind of a big federal organization. And so when this kind of opportunity at BJC kind of rolled around, I kind of was like, I don't really know if I'll do that. I'm not really interested. But I looked into it, and I looked at a lot of what really great work the Brown School is doing, as well as work that BJC is doing here in the area and actually having an impact. That, for me and being able to work there has been a very, very career altering experience as well. And so, we do have the benefit of being nationally recognized. Yeah, you can, go anywhere. But I would say, living in St. Louis, you have a really great opportunity through the Brown School to integrate with the community as much as possible. And so for me, I mean, that has been something that's been really great. And it could lead into, for MPHs, we usually have our practicum over the summer. But mine extended out to the rest of the year. And, at the end of that summer, healthcare is this like very complex beast, and I felt like I had just scratched the surface. So having the opportunity to continue on while I'm going to school and being able to take what I'm learning in the classroom and applying it in a real world setting, for me was kind of revolutionary, and I loved it. So I would say definitely give St. Louis a chance.
For those who don't know, BJC, Barnes Jewish Hospital, but it's a teaching hospital.
Yes, it's our academic. So WashU has their med school and is affiliated with Barnes Jewish Hospital, which is our really, really big, acute center. So a lot of specialty care happens there. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. We actually have a little over 400 practicum sites for both programs combined, and so there are a lot of great opportunities, as mentioned, with this group. And you do get a chance to actually choose your practicum sites. And the great thing about, we've talked about this in other sessions, but you get 3 advisors here, and one of them is actually a field advisor. So you actually have somebody who will walk you through that process of selecting practicum site, affiliating a site, similar to what Ali mentioned, if it doesn't exist currently. And so you don't have to make those decisions on your own, but it's really provides the autonomy for you to be able to identify what's going to really work for your specific experience that you're looking for, preparing for the experience that you want to have post to the Brown School, whether it's going into the field doing research, creating some work opportunities for yourself, or even continuing on your education, whether that's a PhD or med school or anything else that you're interested in.
Practicum fairs.
Yeah.
Were tremendously helpful for me. I mean, I went to an agency that I didn't know existed because I met them at the practicum fair last year.
Absolutely, that's great. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. So here we are, kind of at that very end, I think. I think we actually might have some other information. All right. Looks like we may have something else that's coming in, so we'll stay put there. To fill in time here, I don't know if there's anything else about the St. Louis area that people would want to share. I can tell you, I've been here since 2003, so as a transplant, I think a lot of us here, whether it's in the Brown School or even in the St. Louis region, are transplants. And I'll say that I'm coming from Southern California to living in the Midwest for a long time, and eventually the East Coast for a little bit, and eventually settling in the St. Louis area. It's been one of the greatest places. I would say, if you speaking to the institution as a whole. I was talking to somebody this morning via Skype here at work, and we were talking about why choose St. Louis. James, you mentioned this earlier about the tons of nonprofits that are here. St. Louis has, like every city, St. Louis has quite a bit of need, but St. Louis also is a very generous city. It has a lot of nonprofits that are doing really good work, and I think that's what's connected to a lot of these practicum opportunities. And so there's a place for you to fit in here in St. Louis. I think that's an important piece. And then on top of that, again, being a Midwestern town, the idea that you actually get a chance to enjoy this place. When you move from a coast, for those of you who are coming from a coast, the first couple of weeks you're going to be here, and you're going to go pay for something or buy gas or whatever. You're going to feel rich for a little while. So hold on to that feeling. It'll all adjust after about a year of being here. But there's some pretty good things.
You're going to feel rich, and you're going to be like, why is everyone so nice to me? What they want?
What's the awesome?
Can I add one thing?
Yes, please.
The one thing that really surprised me about the students of the Brown School is their affinity to get outside and go running and hiking. We have so many state parks. I thought I was going to be one of the only students who likes to go for a hike on a weekend, but no, I mean,
Yeah.
So many state parks around the area and trails.
Places,
Yeah. And they might be.
writing things,
Yeah.
nature-y things, if you like that.
That was kind of a pleasant surprise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things right across the street, we're kind of blocked a little bit from where we are, but it's a short walk. It's to Forest Park, and that has a great 6-mile or so trail. It's pretty hilly. It's pretty good workout for you. But there's cycling through there. We know a lot of students bike to campus a lot, which is super exciting. And then you don't have to go too far. I mean, within 15 to 20 minutes of campus, there are quite a few great hiking trails.
Yeah, and the foothills of the Ozarks, and it's really pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm one of those people who enjoys that, especially when the weather's pretty decent. So, actually, this winter has been pretty incredible.
We've had actually a couple of good winters.
In a row.
Like a 1 or 2 ice storms, but in general has been super nice.
Yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking, but we're kind of enjoying it at the same time. You can actually be outdoors. So it's pretty mild winters for the Midwest. I'll say in general, St. Louis actually has fairly mild winters regardless for the Midwest.
Usually one bad snowstorm and that's like it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have one last question here, and it says, as someone who is also interested in counseling in a university setting, which professors have been reporting thus far in your education? What professors do you think that this person should reach out to learn more about counseling? And I think we aimed that towards the university level, but I think that other folks can speak to that as well.
So off the top of my head, I know Ryan Lindsay would be a good contact. He, I believe, is the chair for mental health concentration. Yes, I'm getting confirmation on that. And I'm also connected to Matt Collins. He is a faculty member in mental health concentration who is like one of those people Josh was talking about. He's like my designated kind of like faculty mentor, faculty advisor. And trying to think offhand. Oh, there's some adjunct faculty too who are really wonderful. So one of the people that is like a mentor I connected with on my own, her name is Jessica Weiland, and she is an assistant dean of students here at WashU for the undergrad student affairs offices, but she teaches also in the fall. I think she teaches human behavior, and she has done clinical counseling before she started working in student affairs. So she has like a student affairs and counseling interest and background, and has kind of done the inverse of what I did. So I was like telling her some like higher ed things, and she was telling me some social work things. So I decided to get connected to her. There's tons of people, but those are the three that I thought of first. And there's others that you all know of.
Lots right now?
Ryan Lindsay's mine.
Okay. Okay.
You're lucky to have him. He's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a really good go-to. All right, so I guess we're looking at the time. It's time to wrap up. I just want to thank you all for being a part of this. Really, I think your insights, as expected, were actually going to be wonderful and great. So it's just been great to get a variety of insights. I feel like I know each of you for various ways, and I feel like you've been very authentic in what you shared, for sure. I want to put a couple plugs in here. One of them is we have Admitted Student Weekend that's happening April 7th and 8th. Admitted Student Weekend will happen, of course, here at the Brown School. And if you have any questions, please contact us. You can also look at our Admitted Student webpage. I think we have a slide that's going to come up here pretty soon as well. I think, are you doing that for us as well? Okay, great. So we'll have some more details on that as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We offered up that each of us are willing to talk to you, and we'll get you connected with that peer outreach volunteer as well. But again, we thank you for tuning in. Some information is coming up here on the board next, and we'll look out for hearing from you, or we'll look forward to seeing you during the student weekend.